So what do you think? Does that sound compatible with your values based on what we described?
It does fit my values,
Yeah.
but it's not something I would do if I'm going to be completely honest.
So you saw our sign over there. It says that we are doing a social experiment. And we're looking for people who have the three following qualities: empathy, courage, and a willingness to change your mind. Do you think you have those three qualities?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to start. Like I said, this is just going to take the form of a conversation. I'll start by reciting a quote to you, and then it's kind of a heavy quote. So afterwards, we'll pause and we'll take a deep breath together, and then we'll sort of discuss the quote. The quote is making a comparison between two things. So after I recite the quote, I'll also make sure that you understand what's being compared, and then we'll move on to the rest of the experiment.
Okay.
So the quote is this: "In relation to animals, all people are Nazis. For the animals, it is an eternal Treblinka." So do you understand what's being compared here?
Yeah. I think animals in relation to food, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
And being compared to?
Nazis. To the food industry, slaughtering, etc.
Yeah. So you know what Treblinka is?
Treblinka? No.
So Treblinka was one of the concentration camps during World War II. Yeah.
She's more of a history.
Yeah.
Now, so.
Yeah. Okay. So now you understand what's being compared. Will you take a deep breath with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, how do you feel after hearing that quote?
I understand where it comes from. I understand the comparison, but I think it's kind of an extreme comparison. That comparing the Nazis to us slaughtering animals. Yeah, I can go into the discussion immediately because it's a bit of it's a hard theme to discuss because there's so many variables.
I asked how you felt first, and then we'll get into sort of the comparison.
Well, how I feel. Well, I think it's a bit extreme just putting that comparison between the Nazis and us.
Yeah.
Now.
And how about you?
I felt, as soon as you said that, I felt really heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know, like there was like some kind of weight that was put on me. And then I immediately went to like thinking of, is this right? And looking at it from all angles, kind of.
Yeah.
And on one way, it's like a really heavy topic that is difficult to think about. On the other way, in another hand, I also enjoy thinking about complex ideas and trying to dissect them. So...
Yeah, I think that's kind of the purpose of this experiment, is to, these kinds of comparisons can be useful to give us a new perspective on things and to sort of play with an idea in our heads without necessarily committing to them. So I'd like to sort of dive into this comparison, and then I'll provide some context with who said this quote after that. And then we can talk a little bit afterwards as well. So going into the comparison, let's start with sort of differences and similarities. We can start maybe with differences. What are sort of the major differences that come to mind between the treatment of animals in animal agriculture, say, and the Holocaust?
Well, for one, it's animals and humans.
Yep.
So that's the obvious, it's a different species.
Yeah.
So I think that's the obvious difference now between it.
And also, I mean, you could argue that what is happening to animals is due to a need for humans. Whereas, I don't know, you could argue that what the Nazis did to other humans was not necessarily a need, but more for a personal gain.
Yes, so the purpose is different, right? So I think even just at a very high level, you can say, okay, one of them, we're using them for our benefit in some way, whereas in the other one, the purpose was extermination, right? Whereas with the purpose with using animals is not extermination. We actually want to keep it going.
Exactly.
Are there any other differences that come to mind? I can think of one major one as well.
Not right now. Nothing coming to mind right now.
So the last one, sorry,
I don't know, I'm thinking, maybe this is a bit far-fetched, but in the context of the Nazis, it was a small group trying to convince a bigger group of people to do it, whereas I feel like in terms of towards animals, it was more like an instinct to do it. Like no one needed to convince people to do it, but some people prefer convincing people not to do it. You know?
Yeah, maybe that was true. I think that was more true when we look back at the origins of this. And nowadays we have this big machine that just sort of keeps going. But I think that's also related to the difference in purpose in a large way. The last difference that comes to mind for me is the scale of it. So you probably know, but over the course of 4 years during World War II, about 6 million Jewish people were killed. Do you have an idea of how many animals we kill in just 1 year?
Honestly,
No idea.
Do you have a guess?
a lot though.
I'd say around like 100 million at least a year.
And how about you? Do you have a guess?
I feel like it's more than what happens in Germany.
I can tell you it's more than 100 million.
Yeah.
So do you have another guess on top of that?
I was going to go a lot higher, like half a billion.
Way more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So just land animals, so like cows, chickens, pigs, it's about 80 to 90 billion per year.
Per year.
And then if you include sea animals, then it's about 1 to 3 trillion. It's harder with sea animals because we count them by weight, not as individuals.
Yeah.
So for context, the total number of humans who have ever lived in all of history is about 120 billion. So we kill that many land animals in like a year and a half. And we kill that many animals total in a few weeks. Yeah.
That's it's heavy. I didn't expect it to be that much.
Yeah, I think most people are surprised. No one ever gets
Yeah.
close. Some people might say maybe about 1 billion. Most people
Yeah.
guess around 100 million, 500 million, something like that, 10 million even. No one ever gets close to the real number. It's so much bigger than many of us realize. So those are, like I said, the major differences that come to mind. Now, in terms of the similarities, I'll maybe list a few similarities, and you can tell me if you either disagree that they're similar in that way, or if you don't know about them. So the first one is, in both instances, individuals are confined to farms or camps. In both instances, individuals are treated as objects. In both instances, individuals suffer on the farms or camps. In both instances, they are branded or mutilated on those farms or camps. In both instances, individuals are killed at the end of the process. And in both instances, individuals are killed in gas chambers.
Gas chambers. Do they also use gas chambers for animals? I don't know. I'm not really much educated on the topic. So
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
question.
I always save that one for last because that's usually the one that surprises people.
Yeah.
So most pigs are killed in gas chambers. It varies a little bit from country to country, but around 90% of pigs worldwide are killed in gas chambers.
I didn't know that.
And then also some chickens are killed in gas chambers as well. So some are killed with other methods, but there's actually even a movement within the EU to move more chickens towards being killed in gas chambers. Yeah, so how do you feel after hearing all that?
For me, I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear about the gas chambers, but it's not a surprise to me because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm aware of the cruelty that humanity can bring. So that's why I wasn't necessarily surprised.
Yeah,
And I'm no way am I saying that that's a good thing. But yeah, it wasn't like a huge shock, but it was a realization. It kind of brought me to that step. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, actually, we should think about this.
Yeah, I completely agree there with her. It caught me off guard at the
Yeah.
start, especially when you said that they're killed in gas chambers, because I gotta be honest, I did not know that.
yeah.
So, and I don't think a lot of people do. So, it's kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a single conversation with someone who already knew about gas chambers, unless they had really specifically done research on this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we're here, is to get people to think about sort of what's on the other side of these products that they often consume, like you said, without ever thinking about the process or without really thinking about the individuals on the other side. So I want to provide a little bit of context. Do you know where this quote comes from? Or who wrote it? So it was written by Isaac Bashevis Singer, who was a Nobel Prize-winning author from Poland, and he was also a Holocaust survivor. So he fled Nazi-occupied Poland in the 1930s after seeing sort of the rise of the Nazi Party and becoming aware that his life was at risk. So I like to add that context because I think that really adds some weight to this.
Yeah. Because from someone that survived it firsthand, comparing it to a modern day, I'm not saying modern day, but like more recently problem is popping up is it's heavier than if someone just like randomly on the street said that.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, I think in a lot of political discourse, like so many people are calling each other Nazis or referring to that, and I think this really reframes that.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, does that reframe your initial sort of assessment of the quote, or how good of a comparison it is?
I still don't necessarily agree with it, with the quote, with that comparison that it does, but I understand it. I understand it on a kind of deeper level.
Yeah.
So why he said that, and then that it's also like more valid that he said that because he's actually the one who survived the Nazis and then does that, because the word Nazis thrown around recently bit easy. So,
Right.
For me, the validity or the reliability of the quote didn't necessarily change because I tried to take every bit of information from different angles, and I immediately want to think about, okay, how else can you think about it? But it did add a level of context for it. So it kind of makes me realize, okay, where is this person coming from? Which is like an extra addition to think about it.
Yeah. So I think during the course of this conversation, just in the way you reacted to that quote and your willingness to talk through it, I think you've shown some empathy. So I appreciate that. I now want to ask you to show some courage. So it sounds like, but maybe I want to ask to be clear, do you both consume animal products?
Yes.
Chickens, pigs, fish, cows, dairy, eggs, all of the above?
Yes.
Are you willing to watch a quick video of what happens to some of these animals in the industry?
I would, yeah, because we've watched those videos in school already.
Yeah.
So we've seen those videos, so yeah, I would watch it. Yeah.
What have you seen before?
Chickens getting thrown in like whole and alive into like those kind of like grinders.
Yeah, so this is in the egg industry.
Exactly.
Because male chicks are useless, and so they get discarded, they
And
get killed.
just pigs slaughtered. The general stuff that
Yeah.
you see on the news, like not necessarily on the TV, but like if you go into the rabbit hole a bit deeper, you can find those videos.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, since we had been talking about gas chambers and pigs, maybe I'll show you some footage of what that actually looks like. Right, let me turn up the brightness a little bit more. So this is a gas chamber. This is a gas chamber, exactly.
And touted as the most humane and efficient option is the carbon dioxide gas chamber. A system of rotating cages lowers the fully conscious pigs 2 or 3 at a time into the heavily concentrated gas, which begins to burn their eyes, nostrils, sinuses, throat, and lungs while suffocating them.
So how did that compare to your expectations? Like, was that better or worse than you imagined?
Worse.
Yeah.
Definitely worse.
That was worse.
Because I did not expect the pigs to fight back that much. So kind of shocking.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to see the kind of panic in their movements.
Yeah. You can see that they're fighting to get out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's something that happens over the course of a minute or two typically. And the way that it feels for them also, it's also painful. Like if you ever like drunk soda too quickly and it sort of burns your throat.
Yeah.
So the carbon dioxide also reacts with their soft tissues, and there's a similar, much more intense burning sensation that's all in their nose and in their throat. And they just experience that. And technically this is a method for stunning them. And so then after they're unconscious, some of them obviously are killed just by this alone. But then after they're unconscious from this, then they also get their throats slit. Yeah. I know it can be a heavy thing to sit with. I want to ask you now, imagine that you are standing outside one of these gas chambers and a pig is about to go in, and imagine that he could talk to you and he asks, why are you doing this to me? What would you say to him?
I don't really think there's something that you could say, because what your actions cannot be supported. I don't know, I feel like it's not like a very explanatory way of doing something. Just like if you, like with the comparisons to the Nazis, there's also no explanation as to why they did that. They just did. So, I don't know, if I was looking at them, I wouldn't know what to say.
I wouldn't know what to say either, but I still think if it could speak and could ask, I think it would deserve an explanation still, even if that explanation doesn't necessarily, what did you say? It's
Doesn't comfort them, maybe, or doesn't?
That
it isn't a justification.
Justification. Exactly. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for.
Doesn't justify it.
Yeah, it doesn't justify it. I think no matter if it justifies it or not, it still deserves an explanation.
Yeah.
Just that's my view on it. She might not agree with it. You might not agree with it. It's just that I think it deserves an explanation.
Yeah.
I would tell it, yeah, like year for human consumption doesn't justify it, but it's an explanation nonetheless.
Yeah. And if you were in the pig's position, do you think anything would justify that kind of
No.
treatment?
No.
Yeah. And how quickly would you want that person to stop and leave you alone?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's basically why we're here, is to talk,
Okay.
because you asked at the beginning sort of what we're here to talk to people about. Like I said, to give people a new perspective and to have them consider the individuals on the other side of their choices. So do you think you have some small amount of power over what happens to these animals?
I alone as a person, I don't necessarily do. But in the bigger picture, if like a lot of people starting to like look after where they buy from, what they buy, I think that would do something. But me as a person alone, I couldn't make a difference in that big of an industry. There has to be a lot more behind it.
I feel a bit helpless in this situation because as much as you could not eat, not buy animal products, it feels like it doesn't have an effect. Because there are so many humans in this world and there are so many people responsible for this, which makes this kind of societal issue feel a lot more overwhelming.
Yeah. I understand. I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed by the size of the system. To that one pig, like suppose you could save that one pig
Yeah.
in that moment, do you think that would be enough of an impact for you to consider at least making a change in that moment?
Well, if I could save the pig, if I had the opportunity to save the pig, I probably would.
Yeah. So you mentioned not consuming animal products. Do you have an idea of how many animals one person can save per year if they stop consuming animal products?
I don't know.
I would have said like a few thousand maybe.
It's less than that, so this time you overshot.
Okay.
But it is still, somewhere between 50 and 100 are most
It's still
estimates.
a lot per person. It's
Still a lot. I think most people, if they want to save just one animal, for example, they think that that's worth it, right? Most people, if they see a dog being kicked in the street or something,
Yeah.
they're not going to say, well, if I step in here, it's not going to save the thousands of stray dogs that are in my
It does save
country.
the one dog.
Exactly. And to that individual, it matters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's really what we're here to talk about is the individuals, because every individual still deserves this sort of consideration, the way that we see it. It sounds like you share that value.
Yeah.
And this is really the core idea. You mentioned not consuming animal products. Do you know the term for someone who doesn't consume animal products?
Yeah, vegetarian, vegan. Or vegan is any animal products, vegetarian is just meat.
Yeah, so I would describe not consuming animal products as a consequence of being vegan. So the original definition of veganism is that it's an ethical principle. It's the idea that that humans should live without exploiting other animals. The way that I like to describe it is, I don't know if you have any animals in your life, like dogs, cats, or
Yes.
anything. Yeah. So most people see these animals as individuals, right? They see them as, they know that they have individual personalities, likes and dislikes. They give them names. They form connections with them. The animals that we use for various other products, food, clothing, entertainment, etc., we view them as objects, as I mentioned before, right? And so when you look back in history, anytime that humans have looked at another group of individuals and said, that's not someone, that's something, it opens the door to all kinds of atrocities. And so being vegan is really just about changing fundamentally the way that we view animals and viewing them as someone, not something, which is something that most people already do with certain animals. And veganism is just about logically extending that to all of the rest.
Yeah.
What do you think about that idea?
But like, question phrase is, would we be vegan or?
Yeah, well, first, what do you think? Does that sound compatible with your values based on what we described?
It does fit my values,
Yeah.
but it's not something I would do if I'm going to be completely honest.
And if you were in the pig's position, do you think anything would justify that kind of
No.
treatment?
No.
Yeah.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
About it, I probably am after this conversation, after what you told me, the numbers and stuff, and just paint a picture for me. Probably will pay more attention to what I buy, and maybe buy a bit less, than completely stop it, because I'm gonna be honest, I love eating meat.
Some people have no moral compass.
Meat, and I'm also in an industry, I'm not saying professionally, but I love doing bodybuilding and just muscle,
Yeah.
where that protein comes naturally. So it's just something else I also like, but I will probably pay more attention to what, how much, where from, those kinds of stuff. But
Yeah, this is like a topic that kind of has phases in my day-to-day life, because there are some phases where I'm really paying attention to how much meat I consume, all the animal products I consume, and then there are other times where I become more ignorant to it. So my goal is to be more, to pay more attention to it and to really like understand the impact of my day-to-day actions. So I wouldn't be able to say that I could completely convert to a veganist lifestyle, but definitely like consider it more and to like really take it all in during my day-to-day life.
So you mentioned protein and body in the context of bodybuilding. Do you think that there are like nutritional issues with a vegan diet that would prevent you from building muscle?
not necessarily, but it's just from what I saw and heard, might not be true, but it's not as effective as the meat product. Because there are supplements that give you the protein that you need, but there are also some downsides to those supplements. But there's always just like downsides and upsides to everything. Also to the meat, there's like the downside of that which we talked about now. But it can be replaced, but I think it's because you're gonna have to take like a lot of pills, and if you want to completely shut it off, you can do something in between. I think, like tone down the meat consumption, and then just take some supplements, which I think would be a better solution than going either just meat or just supplements for me personally. So yeah.
And how about for the animals?
Well, the animals would certainly be happy if I completely toned down the animal consumption.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about not having looked into the research too much.
Yes.
So of course you can look into this on your own, but I can also just tell you. So first of all, I'm also into lifting, so I pay attention to my protein consumption.
Good.
I'm not as gigantic as you are yet, but give me a couple of years. So you can look into the research, and first of all, every major dietetic association in the world has come out with a statement that a well-planned plant-based diet is perfectly healthy for all stages of life. Regarding supplementation, the only thing that you can't get directly from plants is vitamin B12, which actually doesn't even come from animals. It comes from bacteria in the soil. So a lot of animals are also injected with it. And for that, you can either take a pill, or a lot of foods are fortified with it. So like soy milk or like plant milks in general tend to be fortified with it. For example, there are other foods that also tend to be fortified with it. There have been studies also about both building muscle and strength, so strength training and hypertrophy training. When protein intake is matched among the two groups, they build the same amount of muscle. So it actually ends up not mattering as long as, of course, you get enough protein. And supplements are not the only way to get protein. You can also get protein from tofu, tempeh, seitan, beans, lentils. There are some mock meats if those are within your budget as well. Sometimes those are on sale here, which is nice too. So there are plenty of options nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference from when we were doing this a long time ago. So it sounds like you're willing to make some changes, but maybe not all changes. Can you commit to make some changes after this conversation then? How much longer are you here in Amsterdam?
Just today, going back to Utrecht later today. Then I'll drive back to Luxembourg tomorrow.
Okay. So I can give you a map of all vegan restaurants in Amsterdam if you're planning on having dinner somewhere in here, somewhere in the city. But I can also point you to some other resources online, one of which is called Challenge 22. It's completely free. It's a 22-day challenge. They provide you with a dietitian if you have any questions about nutrition. They help you come up with a meal plan within your budget, and they send you recipes every single day. Is that something that you would be willing to take on?
Yeah.
We could do it together.
But it's a bit hard for me because first of all, I'm in school, so and around us we don't have a lot of vegan options, if any. And during, like, my parents do the shopping, the grocery shopping, and I know they wouldn't make such a change. So it's kind of hard for me. She has it a bit easier there than me because she lives alone. So she does the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
But next year, I'm probably going to live alone too. I'll probably study in the Netherlands too, not here, somewhere else. But I might do that then, seeing how it develops.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you'll. Sorry, you were going to say something?
I mean, for me, I would totally think about that because I don't know, like I'm only recently living alone, so it's like so eye-opening that I can like really have a choice over how I live my day-to-day life. So completely wanting to explore and experiment these different types of lifestyles is something that I can really interested in.
Yeah, I think now is the time to do that as you sort of settle into doing it. And really what I want to impress on people is that it is something that's urgent, right? From our perspective, it doesn't feel urgent because we just sort of go about our day and make choices. And of course, you're free to walk away, and I can't control what you do after this, but the animals on the other side of those choices don't get a say in what happens to them, right? And so the idea of going vegan can seem daunting when we center ourselves in our minds, and I think when we center the perspective of the victim, it becomes much easier, because then even in situations when there are tiny bits of inconvenience, it's really nothing compared to what even one animal has to go through. So during the rest of your weekend together, can you at least promise to have a plant-based meal? Yeah, we probably will. Awesome. Look tonight. Yeah, I know there are a few restaurants there as well. I don't have a nice map for you, but there's also an app called Happy Cow.
Happy Cow?
Yeah, which lists sort of vegan restaurants in the city.
Definitely in the Netherlands, they're a lot more open to these different dietary needs. For example, in Luxembourg, it's a lot harder to come by because we're such a small country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from the States, so it's also, I went vegan when I was living there still, and it's definitely easier here, but I think ultimately the shift that you notice in yourself once you commit is you stop sort of searching for excuses and instead just look for solutions. And there's so much more out there than you realize because you're just not used to looking for it. So I think that's the major thing is that shifts. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for having this conversation with me.
You're welcome.
It was nice to meet you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.
Thank you very much.
Okay. You can take the mic back as well.